Hello. This will be a longer video, and I just thought I would do a behind the scenes of an entire chapter of an audiobook. So if you've ever been listening and you see the snippets here and there, but if you've ever wanted to see what the entire process actually looks like, then that'll be this one. And this is one of the shorter chapters in this particular book I'm doing. So grab a cup of coffee and enjoy, if you're into that kind of thing. With commentary. I guess I'll do commentary. Chapter 11. The forest was dark, with only the palest slivers of moonlight streaming through the dense canopy of trees. Somewhere an owl hooted, and other nocturnal animals could be heard moving in the dark. The path through the forest was wide. Didn't like that. The path through the forest was wide. Not a road, but still well used. Well used. So if I feel like I didn't say something right, I'll double check it. And if it comes clear, sometimes it comes out clear. It's just, how you hear your head voice and you're like, is that right? Is that right? The horse slowed to a trot, but Aaliyah didn't mind. They had ridden hard from Caldric Manor. She knew little about horses, but even this monstrosity of a beast could not keep that fast of a pace forever. The faint trickle of water could be heard ahead, and she nudged the horse toward the sound. Right off the path was a small stream. The horse stopped inches from the water and bent to drink. She fell as she attempted to dismount. Bent to drink. See, even bent to drink didn't sound right. The horse stopped inches from the water and bent to drink. She fell as she attempted to... She fell as she attempted to dismount the horse. Her bare legs were already sore and chafed, and they shook as she stood. Thank you, she whispered to the animal and patted its sides. It continued to drink deeply from the stream, and she held the reins tightly in one hand, afraid it would run off. With her other hand, she began to dig through the pack Lina had handed her. That's what I call predictive reading, where I think there's going to be a word in the text, but it's not there. So I thought I was going to say, had handed to her. So, yay brains. She began to dig through the pack Lina had handed her. It was hard to see the contents with what little light was in the forest. Her hand touched something cold, and she pulled the item out. She pulled the item out. It was a sheathed hunting knife. She put the sheathed knife under her arm and continued to search through the rest of the items. I know you can't hear it, but that's where I'm listening back to see. That was two. That was no good. She put the sheathed knife under her arm and continued to search through the rest of the items. Her hand grasped at what felt like... See, I added at. Her hand grasped what felt like leggings and a man's tunic. At least my legs won't hurt as badly while riding, she thought, as she led the horse over to a small tree and secured its reins before returning to her pack. Hoping no one was around to see, she struggled to unbutton the back of the dress. She couldn't get the dress off. Her breathing became quick and shallow as the fear of wearing the abhorrent gown for another second took hold. She screamed in frustration, and then remembered the knife she had laid on top of the clothing. She snatched the knife and sliced up the slit. After getting a cut into the fabric, she pulled and tore at it with all her might. The dress came off with a huge ripping sound, and she tossed it to the side before donning the leggings and tunic. The night air was cool, and she was thankful for the warmth of the clothes as she stuffed everything back into her pack. "Well, shall we continue?" she addressed the horse as she untied the reins. "Not that we know where we are or how to get where we are going, but I'm free." "Shall we continue?" She laughed with an edge of hysteria. Edge of hysteria. "I made it out. I don't have to sacrifice myself for him. He will never hurt me again." Where was I? There. "Everyone, including Lina, is most likely dead." She went cold at She went cold at the thought, and wiped away the tears that had formed for her friend. "I wish I knew what your name was," she said to the horse. "It's not as if you were a willing participant in this escape to begin." Man, reading is hard. "It's not as if you were a willing participant in this escape to begin with. Although, you probably are never a willing participant being owned by someone with the title of executioner." The horse made a sound she would have sworn was a... The horse made a sound she would have sworn was of exasperation. It took her a few tries, and some unladylike words, before she successfully mounted the horse. The animal walked slowly, and Aaliyah eyed the trees with suspicion. She didn't think someone was following her, but the executioner had told her to run before Madra, whoever that was, found out. There was that unspoken promise in it. It's interesting how you can read lines different ways. Just where the emphasis goes. You got to make sure you read it the right way. There was that unspoken promise in his words that Madra would make him come after her. She pushed the horse to move faster and was grateful when it obeyed. She rode through the night, and she was relieved when the sun began to rise, and light began to flicker in through the trees. It was comforting to be able to see her surroundings more clearly, and she began to search for a place to rest. It had been a long night. A tight grouping of trees lay to the left. She led the horse to it and tied him to a tree. He began to pick at some of the grass and weeds that grew underfoot. She rummaged through her pack, pulled out the dress, and dumped the rest of the contents onto it. An apple rolled out, and she picked it up and took it to the horse. He ate it and sniffed her hand, as if asking for more. "That's enough for now," she laughed, as his breath tickled her hand. Still laughing, she went back to looking at the pack. A fine blue cloak had been shoved into the bottom, and she threw it over her shoulders, thankful for the weight of it. As she did, something heavy fell out of the cloak and landed with a clinking sound. Oh. Loud trucks. out of water. Oh no. Truck's gone. Where was I? A clinking sound. Oh. There. Oh wow, that took a while. It was a small purse of coins, and when she opened it, she was amazed at the amount of money it contained. Money? Money. Didn't say the N. She was amazed at the amount of money it contained. Lena must have put every spare coin she had in there, and then some, she thought. Beneath the coin sack lay the green journal from the drawer. What are you doing here? She thought, and thumbed through the pages. The pages written in blood were where she had left them, and she put the journal in Kernpoise. You ever heard of a Kernpoise? And she put the journal and coin purse back in her pack. The rest of the items were food: apples, jerky, and bread. Under the loaf of bread was a belt. She put the food to one Excuse me. She put the food to the side and grabbed the belt. Once she had it on, she attached the hunting knife to it. It calmed her to have the weapon close at hand. Calmed. That's one of those words. I've kind of stuck with my pronunciation of it, but I know there's calmed. Her eyes felt heavy as she replaced the items in the pack. After checking... I can't talk anymore. Oi. Excuse me. Another truck. I live by an intersection, and it's a truck route. Well, truck route. It's in the small city. Trucks go by here. It's not a truck route. Her eyes felt heavy as she replaced the items in the pack. After checking to make sure the horse was all right, she wrapped herself up in the thick cloak, lay on the ground, and fell asleep. So easy. So easy, a raspy voice said. Aaliyah jerked to a sitting position and... There's two kids that live in the townhouse beside me, and every now and then they bang on the walls. Aaliyah jerked to a sitting position and blinked the sleep away. Two distorted forms stared at her hungrily from a few feet away. So deliciously easy. But we were to take her alive, the second one said, staring at the first. Her magic is intoxicating, the first one. Her magic is intoxicating. The first one said with a sniff toward Aaliyah, who was now awake enough to process what was standing before her. The talking creature, Aaliyah was not sure what to call it, had long, greasy black hair. Its companion had long, greasy auburn hair. Auburn. Let's say auburn. Breathing. Its companion had long, greasy auburn hair. Both had ashen skin and were covered in blood that had long since dried. The first creature edged closer, and Aaliyah scooted until her back hit the tree behind her.
Now, none of that,
it hissed as it stalked toward her.
We have been sent to bring you in.
Oh boy.
Water!
Bring you in, bring you in.
She did not tell us in what condition she expected you, though, did she?
It said, with a sneer toward its companion.
No, I don't believe she did,
the other creature said with a smile that sent shivers down Aaliyah's spine as it edged toward her. Yeah. She fumbled for the knife at her belt, hands shaking with fear. These must have been the creatures I heard at the manor and in Elrin. It was not a comforting realization. No, it wouldn't be. She held the knife up defensively. She tried to stand. She hadn't made it fully up before the dark-haired one sprang toward her. She let out She let out a scream, trying to slash at it as it knocked her to the ground. The horse, having been quiet the entire time, let out a worried snort and began to tug on its confined reins. It pulled free and took off, running back out onto the path. The second creature was distracted by the sound of the horse as Aaliyah wrestled with the first. It held her down with arms pinned beneath her. It held her down with arms. It held her down, yeah. Oh, boy. It held her down with arms pinned beneath her. Her grip on the knife broke, and the creature snatched it, bringing it to her neck. It slid the blade slowly down her neck in warning as it stared at her contemplatively. Contemplatively. Oh, that's another one of those weird words. Contemplatively. Okay, so every now and then, if I have a word, like, it's a word you use. It's not like it's a strange word. Youglish. I just want to hear other people say it.
Contemplatively away.
Contemplatively.
To some
Contemplatively.
In knowing contemplatively.
All right. We're going with contemplatively. Oh, not that one. It slid the blade down her neck in warning as it stared at her contemplatively.
I want a share of it,
His companion whined.
You always take more than your fair share.
It knelt next to her. knelt next to her. The smell of its rotting breath made her gag. Its spittle hit her face, and she pulled hard against the one holding. And she pulled hard against the one holding her.
Tisk, tisk,
her captor said, as it dragged the sharp edge of the knife from her shoulder to her chin. Her neck... Oh, that was too... Her neck stung as it started to bleed. The creature shifted to slash at her again, and she screamed. Dun dun dun. That's it. That's a chapter in the book. Start to finish. Thanks for watching.